high-vis overalls. I moved to Tasmania 8 years ago and I was working in government. I was working in innovation and small business programs. And the very first program I ran in Launceston, I came across a very charming, very compelling woman called Johanna Baker-Dowdell who was sitting in the front row. And afterwards she came up to me and she said, "Oh, we've just moved here." And I was like, "I've just moved here too." So what are you going to do? And she said, "Oh, well, my husband and I, we're going to have a hazelnut farm." I was like, "Hazelnut farm? Shut up, that's amazing." And so I didn't know anything about hazelnuts, so we talked a lot about hazelnuts, and then we just started talking about stuff. And you know, she was a journalist and a writer and a PR gal, and she was pretty interesting. And I was thinking, there's some good people in this state. So a little while later, I was working at the university and I was doing my entrepreneurship stuff, and I was doing a lot of stuff with mompreneurs, and I was thinking, I need some material. And I was sort of searching around online, and then I found this woman who was an incredible blogger who was writing a book about mums in business, because you know I couldn't have any personal legitimate claim to motherhood, so I thought it was a little rich me talking about mompreneurs. I should get someone who went to the source. Lo and behold, it was Johanna Baker-Dowdell, the very same potential hazelnut farmer I'd met sometime earlier. So I put down the map for a book I was writing, and I picked up the phone and said, "Jo, I was just about to start, outlining a book I needed to write to support these courses I'm teaching, but you seem to be doing exactly the same thing." And so we really started our friendship at that point and started the journey of Jo and the book. This book, I think, was a real godsend because A, I didn't have to write it, and Jo had already gone down the path of what was really necessary out there. I think anyone who is in small business knows that small business can suck every single part of your life out of you, and it's so busy, it's so confusing. You're in the business, you need to be on the business. There's so much to know. And most people don't have that really simple thing, and you can break down the simple steps to starting a business. Most of the work of which needs to be done beforehand in the thinking, and then a lot of it afterwards just in the day-to-day granular delivery. So what Jo did in setting up this book was actually to go and talk to people, from people like me who work very much at the beginning end of entrepreneurship, who work at the idea space where we help to refine stuff, to the people who are really in there, the Caroline Cresswells, those people who've done it and done it in a really big way. And not decided to make a giant tome that you were kind of lugging around, that you really had to forensically study, but made this, which actually started out as a much bigger book and became a much smaller one when Jo went, I'm just going to make this so I can pop in your handbag. And so it tells a very easy step-by-step story, which we both decided was what mums needed, because most mums have got arms full of babies, or legs full of babies, have got, houses full of staff, and have got burning ideas that they need to bring to life. Certainly what I found when I started talking to women who are entrepreneurs and getting into entrepreneurship myself, as an educator in mompreneurs, was that there was a transition that seemed to happen when women got pregnant. Often women who were working who suddenly knew that they had this period of time, which might be mat leave, which might be the early stages of having a baby, where you were kind of hands-on but you'd had a fair bit of time and often some money coming in through maternity leave or whatever it was, that they kind of had this window of opportunity to say, I'm going to do the thing I've always wanted to do. And whether there's a rush of sort of entrepreneurial hormones that no one's actually ever mapped yet, but whatever it was, I often saw it in the period leading up to birth and the period directly sort of in the year after birth. And it's almost like, now's the time, if I'm never going to do it, I'll do it now. So this is really good for that, because it's able to be eaten in bite-sized pieces, and you can go in and you can dip in, and you're not just getting someone telling you a story of their success, but you're getting people telling you stories of where they failed and where they fell over. And certainly in Australia, that's something we don't talk enough about, because where we succeed is where we learn from those falls. And it also steps out not just, here's the lofty, but here's the actual implementation, which is the other thing that as entrepreneurs we often miss, is to sort of say, and this is how I did it. So Jo, with her own magic, managed to convince a whole lot of really interesting and important people to tell their stories, and then has encapsulated in this really great, really handy text, which I think is the playbook for business for women with kids. And I'm a massive optimist and supporter of women going into business. I think that being a mompreneur allows you to have a complete control over the values you want in your life, control to earn revenue, and to do some really interesting things. So I'm so pleased it's out there, and I'm so pleased that women everywhere have a chance to read this book and make that step away from being in day-to-day work to actually doing it for themselves. Jo's a living, breathing example of that. She's smart, she's entrepreneurial, she does things and she fails, and she gets up and goes, I'm going to do something else, and then she's a massive success. This book also talks about that journey of being a writer, which is kind of entrepreneurial in itself in Australia, trying to get published, trying to get out there in, this enormous amount of people who are vying for market. Jo had a really great vision that she had a singular point of focus on the whole way through. And when she got to the point, and certainly I was involved in some of the discussions with publishers that Jo had, because we were originally going to use this as a text to take out when we were training out in the world. And, so much of the times that those publishers sort of stepped away after being really interested was when it went to a sales department who went, mums don't buy books. No way, we'll just get, some other cookbook. And so to make a really brave at the time decision to say, well, you know what, I believe in this and I'm going to take it out and self-publish it. And I'm going to self-fund it through crowdfunding, which Jo talked to you a bit about in her part. All of that is also part of that journey of taking a product out to market. And this is the actual living, breathing proof of that. And if I had an iPad, I would virtualise that panel for this one. So, not only has Jo written a great thing, but she's also been entrepreneurial and is able to now tell that story to other people who want to publish. And he's starting to break down some of the barriers between what we see as this formal traditional publishing model and the much more sort of controlled IP model, which is doing it yourself, and being able to get the money for it and being able to find a market and deliver what that market needs. So I'm wildly proud and excited to be Jo's friend, and also to have had some sort of part of this from the very beginning. And it was a real privilege to be asked to actually be in it, but it's been a very enjoyable journey. And it's like giving birth, and he's one of the best kids we've got. Jo, congratulations.